Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of Start Fishing. It's been about 2 months since my last video, and between schoolwork and mushroom hunting, there really hasn't been a lot of time to get out on the water. But I am excited about getting cranked up for this summer and fall. Today I'm with my friend John, who started watching the channel back in December of last year. Now he and I have been on the water a couple times together. And today we're on the Savannah River, and we'll be floating in our kayaks in what is known as the Shoals area, and we're going to be targeting smallmouth. So this was about a 4-hour float, and I figured I would share with you some of the highlights along with some of the maps, actually looking at some of the spots where I've caught fish in the past, and give some advice on how to navigate the rapids. So we launched below the Savannah Rapids Pavilion. Now there is a conveniently placed kayak launch that helps make the process really easy. Now you could easily put your boat in and fish up towards the dam and return to that launch for takeout. But today we're going to be floating on down and in what will be about a 3.5-mile trek down the river. Just down from the launch is the first set of rapids. Now for me, the easiest way to navigate this is to try and follow the channel if possible. And if you look at the map, you're going to see that the channel appears to be on the South Carolina side, and this is the path that I normally take. Now that doesn't mean that you can't go down the Georgia side, but if the water is a little low, I guarantee you'll be getting out and waiting. As I approach the exit of the set of rapids, we come to the first area that I've consistently caught fish, mostly red-eye bass with the occasional smallie. Now, I've never floated the South Carolina section here, preferring to follow the channel through the middle of both islands. And right above that area is another really good spot. There's a hole here that drops down into 15 or 16 feet of water, and I've caught and lost a lot of fish right there. So we're going to fast forward a little. I'm now on the downside of those islands and coming into an area that's one of my favorite spots to fish. Now the river's very wide here, going all the way down to Interstate 20. I tend to want to fish the deeper water. In this case, again, it's the South Carolina shoreline that provides the deepest channel. We had a lot of rain the week before, and as you can see, the river still hasn't cleared up, but the level was down enough for us to give it a shot. Currently, I'm casting a chartreuse tube jig, which according to the internet was supposed to be one of the best lures for smallmouth. Now again, this is the South Carolina side, and I'm casting to structure on the bank, hoping to trigger a strike. Oh, that was a nice cast. Fish on!
John!
Well, it's not a smallmouth, but I'm not going to complain. Again, take a look at the map. I'm going to highlight this area and where I've had the most success fishing. All along the South Carolina shoreline, the water is deep and in the summertime seems to really hold a lot of fish.
Yeah, especially on an ultralight. Yeah, it is. I'm gonna let her go.
Well, changing to a chartreuse must have been the trick.
At this point, we've reached the Interstate 20 bridge, which is currently under construction. If you look on the opposite shore, you can see where that construction is actually happening. And it's kind of cool because they have this huge pumping system to expel all the water that seeps through the makeshift dam that they've created around where they're constructing. This is probably about the halfway mark for our trip, maybe a little more. As we cross to the downside of the I-20 bridge, and before reaching the next set of major rapids, there are 3 sections of river that seem to produce fish. Here are the spots, and if you notice, they each fall after an outcropping of rocks, which appear to create holes. I think it's really beneficial to look at satellite photos like these. As I've said before, the easiest way to navigate the Savannah River through the shoals is to stay in the channel. Now, as we leave the middle section and enter into this kind of last set of rapids, the channel shifts to the Georgia side of the river. Now, as you can see from this satellite photo, the deepest part of the river flows from that Georgia side diagonally to the South Carolina side. Now, granted, when the water's higher, you may be able to navigate differently and go down a different direction. But on a normal summer day with lower current, if you choose another path, you're probably going to have to get out and walk your kayak. And let me tell you, those rocks are slippery. So you just got to be careful. It's a lot more work if you decide to go a different way as opposed to following the deepest part of the river. Now, although the water is fairly shallow all the way through this section of the river, you really don't want to get wet, especially if it's winter time. After those rapids and above the Waterworks, there's an area where the depth drops close to the 20 feet mark. Each one of these areas that I've shaded, I've caught a lot of fish, and I've done it by throwing rubber worms and flukes, but usually with a little split shot, a little bit of weight, and then letting those float to the bottom and just working them close to that depth, to that deep 20-foot bottom. And I've had a lot of luck, especially in the summertime when the water is really heated up. That probably was not the best route for me to take. It's actually been quite a while since I've been out in the kayak, and I'm a little rusty. Now that brings us to the Waterworks and the end of this trip. Now, if you wanted to keep going, you could. There's probably another half mile of rapids and really good fishing before you hit the downtown Augusta Pool, which is a broader and deeper section of the river that goes all the way down to the lock and dam, which is close to the airport. Now, if you float on from the Waterworks, you can pull your kayaks out at the North Augusta boat ramp, but just be warned that you're adding another hour to maybe even 2 hours to your trip, depending on how much you're fishing. Now, if you didn't notice, we didn't catch a lot of fish on this particular trip, but all the areas that I've pointed out have been very productive in the past. So check it out. It's a lot of fun. And even if you don't catch fish, it's one of the prettiest scenery you'll ever see, and you'll enjoy it. So let me know if you go, and thanks for joining me. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and if you see me out on the water, don't forget to say hello.